just wanted to do a little follow-up to example 2, just to talk about the things that you really need to learn about these powers of I. I is the square root of minus 1. If we look at I squared, that's root minus 1 times root minus 1, which together just gives you minus 1. I cubed is 3 of these multiplied together, and if you remember we did this in the last example. 2 of them combined to give minus 1. So you've got minus 1 times the square root of minus 1, which we write as minus I, because the square root of minus 1 is I. And then I to the 4 is 4 of these multiplied together. And if you remember, we did this in the last example, in example 2, and that works out to be 1. Now if I just do the next step, I to the 5, you can, rather than writing them all out in a long line, you can say, well, that's I to the 4 multiplied by I. We know I to the 4 is 1, so it's 1 times I, which is just I. Similarly, I to the 6 will be I to the 4 times I squared. I to the 4 is 1, and we know that I squared is minus 1. And you'll see that what's going to happen here is we're going to come up with the same pattern again as we had up at the top. So I to the 7 will be the same as I cubed, because I to the 4 is just 1. So what happens is that for every cycle of 4, you can take out a power of I to the 4, and you're left here with this pattern of I squared, I cubed, I to the 4, and it just keeps cycling round. So say I wanted, for example, I to the 10, I could write that as I to the 4 times I to the 4 times I squared. That's 1, that's 1. So it's just the same as I squared. And what actually happens is you go around in a circle. So you start with I, and this is how I remember it. I squared is minus 1. I cubed is minus I. And then I to the 4 is 1. And then you get back to where you started from. So now, if I wanted to say I to the 5 will be the same as I to the 6 is the same as I squared, I to the 7 is the same as I cubed, and I to the 8 is the same as I to the 4, and it just keeps going round in a circle. So it's I minus 1 minus I 1, and they're the key things to remember. So if you're going to remember them, I minus 1 minus I 1, and it just keeps going round in a circle. So that's just something to remember.